Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Irish Food Trade Connect conversations. This week, I'm delighted to announce we have Niamh Dooley from Biasol, a woman I've really wanted to talk to for a long while. Niamh, you're really welcome.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me, Margaret.
It's great to see you. Niamh, you've an interesting story, and I suppose where I kind of first read about the story was during the pandemic. I identified with you because um, I lost work myself, and I'm thinking, I believe something similar happened to you, and here you are 5 years later. So tell me a bit about your background because that's kind of why immediately when I read your story, I identified with with you, to be fair. So tell us a little bit.
Yeah, of course. My journey began, I suppose, I went to the University of Limerick and I
Mm.
studied food science and health. And I suppose why I went down that road is my two subjects that I actually liked, my only subjects in school I actually liked partaking in was home economics and biology. So I said maybe I'd go down that route. I think my mother said to be a school teacher, but I didn't really listen to my parents.
That's unbelievable because I loved home economics and I
Yeah.
wanted to be a teacher, but I was in Sligo and I wouldn't go. So, so very good, yeah, lovely.
Yeah. So yeah, I did 4 years there. Absolutely loved the campus and the college life, and I came out with a degree, so which was great. I knew straight away I didn't want to go straight into serious job or start the career. I wanted to travel, so I actually headed off to Vancouver for 2.5 years, and I suppose most of my background or work was in hospitality. So I would have done a lot of front of house stuff in hospitalities and cafes, restaurants, hotels. And so that's what I went over with that experience. And I actually started off in a food truck in Vancouver. So that's something different. It was a vegan food truck called Chickpea. It's still going from strength to strength today. And I said, sure, be something different and we'll have a laugh and we might go to a festival.
Why wouldn't you? When you're
That's
having
it.
the time of your life over there, but it's hard work.
No, oh
Hard-
God, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's tough work, working the line and packing the truck and working 8, 9 hours straight. You'd be lucky if you got a break. So we had a good time, but yeah, definitely hard work. The truck did really well, and they said they'd open a restaurant, so a brick and mortar restaurant. So the guys, I got on really well with the owners, and they said, "Look, you've a bit of experience in hospitality, front of house. Do you think you'd help us out and manage front of house?" So I naively said yes. I'd give that a go too. Sure, nothing to lose. So that was great experience. I suppose they were starting from scratch, so I got to see kind of a startup restaurant and help them put in systems into the front of house and all that. So yeah, it was really good experience. But again, really hard work. Trying to find staff and get them trained up, and they had a queue out the door most weekends because they had such a hype from the food truck. So yeah, worked hard and learned a lot. And enjoyed my time in Canada. And then my visa was up, so I said I better come home, see how everyone's doing. And yeah, I suppose what happened then was I applied for Food Dudes, which is a healthy eating program with Board Via. So I was got the job there. I was delighted. My first real job, I suppose, using my career.
Mm.
And yeah, it was lovely. It was kind of doing what I wanted to do in terms of healthy eating and working with kids and stuff. So it was really nice job. But yeah, what happened then was COVID came knocking on the door. And the schools didn't want extra people going in or out of schools, which was absolutely fair enough. So it came to the point that, yeah, unfortunately, I lost my job then, and I suppose that's kind of where it led into the next phase of starting up a business.
Like, it's unbelievable because was it when were you fearful of starting a business, you know, because of, you had been, it was your first proper job, the food delivering those programs was when you came home, did you have any fear of setting up a business?
I don't think I knew I was setting up a business when we started, put it that way. So how it happened was my brother Rory is the co-founder, and he was living in Melbourne at the time. So they were in a really harsh lockdown. He couldn't leave the house. So he was finishing his kind of 9 to 5 job, and I was waking up then 9 a.m. In Ireland, having moved back in with my parents, with no job, COVID. He said, you know what, will we just try do something, a project or something like, and you're interested in food, so let's just try something to do with food. And that's kind of how general it was, and it was all through Zoom. And I suppose we had suppose we hadn't been in touch too much from living in different countries, so it really did bring us together, and we'd have similar interests in kind of healthy eating and staying active. So we both agreed, let's try create a healthy product, and also let's look at how sustainable we could be, because I suppose when I came back from Canada and working with the vegan community, I kind of seen how they looked after the planet. So I kind of brought a little bit of that home with me, and yeah, that's kind of it. Was a project over Zoom, and with those two kind of pillars that we wanted to address. And I suppose we didn't really know we had a business there, and we actually looked at growing a cricket farm at one point. So
Oh my, and I suppose that's from living abroad. You probably saw different things when you were living abroad, because that wouldn't be something now I would imagine that had come to everyone's mind,
no,
growing up a cricket farm. So
no.
quite imaginative
Mm.
um pair, really. That like and but different skill sets, like very
Yeah,
different skill sets. So
absolutely.
you probably don't cross because working together as a family does not, I can imagine, I
No.
mean, like he's your brother,
Yeah,
so it's and a lot of businesses I've worked for are family businesses,
yeah,
but I suppose that everyone knows their different levels of their own skill
yeah,
set,
yeah.
and what they bring to it. And how did you get into the grains then? How did that idea come across? Or what did you see that brought that idea out?
Yeah, so we did small feasibility on the cricket farm, and on paper in terms of nutrition and sustainability, it ticked all the boxes from my point of view. From the other point of view is the Irish public aren't ready to eat it, so we kind of drew a line in the sand there. So we didn't give up. We said, well, what else can we do? We've seen a trend in the US about upcycling food, and I suppose most people, when they hear upcycling, they think of furniture and clothes. So it was a little bit strange to see it with food, but it could be done, and the US is always ahead of us in terms of trends. So we said, right, okay, if we're going to upcycle food here, what's in an abundance and what do we have around us and access to? Because supply is the first thing you need to look at. So the beauty of the craft beer industry exploding over the last 10 years, we realized that there's a lot of brewers spent grain. There's 172,000 tons produced in the island of Ireland each year. So the new supply probably wouldn't be an issue. And the great thing about being in the Midlands is we're in the Midlands. So logistically, we're not too far from any brewery or any distillery. So yeah, it made sense to go after the grain.
And is that because sustainability was a big, like it was a value to you both, like, and with the nutrition that, you know, you didn't just go and get someone to outsource to make something. You went away and because actually sourcing material can be quite difficult if it goes short.
Yeah.
So that was very smart, as in like, because that industry exploded and so much raw material. So did you know at the time that you'd never really run short of that? Like, did that kind of, because sometimes you worry about running short or the price of something.
I
So,
yeah. I hear what you're saying, especially in the way the world is nowadays. But
mm,
I think for us it was, could we take this grain and turn it into something? That was the first question. So I had a spreadsheet of about 30 breweries, and I had to ring them up and pitch the idea. And I think a few of them thought I was a bit mad. A lot of them said, if you can do it, come back to us. We'd love to see our grains going into the food. system. So yeah, did trials at home and in the kitchen, the oven, and got samples ready, and I suppose did my research in terms of nutrition, and then started like giving out the samples to bakers and chefs to see, okay, does this actually taste nice? Are people going to want to eat it? Not to just rely on what we think, but to get other people's opinions as well. So we had to do that first, and then I suppose we'd got a few mentors through different programs, and that was the first question they were asking. They were like, "Do you have supply? Like, will this work kind of at a bigger scale?" So, um, that was the second question we really had to answer too. So, we're now working with O'Hara's would be the largest brewery we're working with at the minute. So they've a lot of grain for us. We're only still taking a fraction. So,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
And so it that the grain is the main ingredient, and then there's kind of just if you're putting in extra, they're kind of supplements to
Mm,
whatever you might be making.
mm,
So like to have a hold of the main ingredient. And it's funny now because what has occurred to me is many businesses I talk to now are they're going into the idea of upcycling. So you definitely had first adapter on it for sure, and that's where um Biasol has taken off. Really, like everyone knows you. That's how we're even in the socials today looking well. You're getting a lot of traction. And for a first mover, it can be a tricky thing because you don't know whether it'll work or not. And as well, the taste, because a lot of um, people have done a lot of vegan products and they haven't tasted that well or something new. So it's like who was the first customer that took your product? If you can tell me. If you
Yeah,
can't,
no,
that's fine too.
it's definitely first mover. Yeah, it's a challenge and it's an
Mm.
opportunity, like you said, and probably more of a challenge because you're a startup with very, very little cash and you have a big story to tell and to try to educate people as well on top of that. So that definitely was not easy. But a great story to tell, so people love to hear it. So, of what we did was we upcycled our grain, and then we said, right, how could we get this into something that someone could eat and bring it to a market? So we started working with our bacon mixes were our first range. So we added our grain into scones and bread and pancakes and cookies, so things that people were already eating. Um, and yeah, Solus Food Market in Port Arlington was the first market we went down to and started selling our products. Um, so I know I met O'Mimo's hot chili sauces at the
She's a
trade
great
connect, but they were one of our first customers.
Were they? Oh,
Yeah,
she's a
yeah,
great woman.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
God, she's a great woman.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
but that isn't that lovely, and the community actually
Mm,
that was there last week
yeah.
of everyone from the Midlands,
Mm, mm,
like you have a serious connection, and
mm,
and the B2B, because I could even see there when you mentioned Solace and the smile, you always remember the first person
mm.
that gave you business, don't you?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
and like even for me, I think, and I always say it like, Board B gave me my first gig in self-employment, and I always remember it for
Yeah,
them, like
that's a good
always.
one.
Yeah, it is a good one. To be fair, they did, and it's important to me because when you're starting off on something,
Yeah.
even though like I had been in the industry for years working for other people, but when you go out by yourself, it's a different animal altogether. Like there's no one else going to bring in the money except you, like so it's very different, but and it just kind of then it started to sell, I suppose.
Yeah, so
And what happened? It just started to sell. And did you, like, at
no,
one point, did you kind of go, oh my God, we're gone beyond our production capacity, or did that ever happen?
no, so we started with farmers markets and then we started with health food stores. Because
Mm.
we had the high fiber content, we thought it was a good place to go and to test our products as well. It was a very slow burner. Never, it doesn't happen overnight that. And then started servicing local super values ourselves, and then where did we go after that? We got into Aldi, Tesco, Holland and Barrett. So, it was very slow steps to get there. And in terms of capacity, production capacity, we went from a little test kitchen in Verban to our own kind of, I suppose we call it our pilot facility. It was 1,200 square feet. And then last January, we moved into a 9,000 square foot facility. So
Wow.
we kind of, it's hard to get food grade premises. I think anyone in the food industry knows that. It's tough. So when we found our place in Tullamore, there was the unit beside it was free, but it looked massive when we were starting out. But it was exactly food spec, a fantastic building. And I just remember saying to Rory, I could see the landlord letting people view it, but not just for food, for other businesses. And I said, God, if that goes now, and we're a little bit further on, we'll kick ourselves. So we asked them for first refusal then. So we probably were in a little bit early, but sure, as everyone says, you're better looking at it
Yeah.
than looking for it. So
You are, and the amount of people I see as it explodes overnight, and next thing they
yeah,
don't know what to do.
yeah,
So it was quite, no, I think it was
mm,
it was
mm,
a very smart thing to do to see it, and because like food grade premises, even for storing food,
yeah,
and you'd know better than me with your background when you go in and you see things, we can't use this place.
yeah,
There's a lot of work to do in it,
yeah, yeah.
So is it how like what kind of like obviously that's a huge building. Is it like so you obviously have a good bit of capacity for any extra business that's coming your way. There's no problem there on capacity.
Yeah, yeah, we're open for
You're
business.
your own for business, woman. Yeah, very good. And tell me what do you enjoy most about your day? Like what is like it must be feeling very different now. You're
Mm,
like you're probably outselling it quite a bit and
mm.
you're becoming well known. What does the day look like, or how many people have you working for you, or
Yeah, I suppose my never 2 days are the same, but I
mm,
quite enjoy that. I worked in a lab for my work experience in college, and like I love science, but doing the same tests over and over and over again, that wasn't for me. I do like the variety and the I suppose the challenges that come up with everyday things. But my day today is I'm running the site over in Tullamore, so I'm there like most of the time. We're a team of 10 all together, that would be
wow,
including myself and my brother. So we're mainly, I suppose, we're manufacturing ourselves. So we're upcycling the grain. We have a micro bakery there for bars and granola. So essentially kind of two lines in the factory. So we need obviously operators there. But I'd oversee production and quality. And I suppose Rory needs me out on the road every now and again doing sales and going to events and promoting the business. So my calendar's usually full and can change. But yeah, I enjoy the I suppose the variety of jobs, but I suppose now it's managing a team more than at one stage when we were in the 1,200 square foot space. I was doing the grain, I was packing the orders, I was trying to sell them. You're still doing everything as a small food business owner, but now it's trying to manage the team and make sure everyone's enjoying work and they have everything that they need, and managing orders and staff and all that good stuff.
and from what you've taught me so far, you're an unbelievably hard worker. You've done the stint, you've done the hours, you know what it's like, and now from turning your hand to everything now to it kind of scaling in a way to kind of leading a team of people with you. Um, what have you had to look at within yourself to kind of, because it's very easy for us to kind of, I'll get in there and I'll sort that. How have you been able to manage that in yourself? Because that is hard to step to
Yeah,
change in that change mindset when it's growing, like,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's hard at the start to just let go of that little bit
Mm,
of control, but I think you have to just have a conversation with yourself and say, you're gonna have to let other people come in and do the job. Maybe it won't be exactly the way you want it done, but you have to be okay with that. Otherwise, you're gonna run yourself ragged and be worried and not take a break, and you don't want to be on the floor micromanaging too. You have to give people their roles and responsibilities, and then have faith in them that they're going to do the job. But I suppose let yeah, I think yeah, it's difficult at the start when it's your
Yeah.
own business, but you have to, or you're not going to get all the other mountain of work done on the laptop or the paperwork. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard because you have people working for you and you have to pay them
Mm,
and they have to be looked after, and
mm,
it's a different. Someone said to me a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about, employing people and how it works and whatever. And he goes, look, he said, you're all right if you've one or two, but if there's 10 or 20 or 30 sitting outside there and you're looking at them and that work isn't coming in, you have something to worry. And that kind of goes, oh my God, that scared the life out of me. But like, I mean, it's creating and like what you're doing there in a very central place, because Tullamore is quite, as you said earlier, like you're in the Midlands, it's quite central, and it's commuter as well, so you kind of access to skilled staff, which is bloody hard to get. But I suppose it's driving the business now, getting more business in to be able to create, and more jobs, which is fantastic.
yeah, it's fantastic. But like I said, there is that bit of pressure,
Yeah, yeah,
you want to manage the orders coming in and make sure there's enough work for everyone, but then that there's not too much work on top of them and they're going to get feel the pressure and get burnt out, and then
yeah.
so yeah, it's
It's
managing that now.
it's managing that, yeah.
Mm.
And is the what like from what you've gone through so far, what would you say to anyone that was thinking of setting up a food business? What what advice would you give them?
Yeah, uh, I would say know your market as much as you can. Um, and now I'm not saying we knew that at the time, but know
Yeah.
what product are you going after? Like, is there a need for your product? Is there a gap in that market for your product? If you don't get into supermarkets and look what's on the shelf, and the thinking house and board via, like that's
Oh yeah,
great.
excellent.
Yeah, to get
Excellent. Yeah.
data, like you just if you can get data, you can stand over data and really understand your market. So I think that's step one really. But to know your market and where you want it to go, and who's going to buy, who's going to be your customer, and then know what your customer wants and where they shop. And I'm sure people told me that at the beginning, but we just kind of got into it, and then was for figuring it out in the background. But I think if you can have that done as best you can, it'll definitely help.
Yeah, it's funny,
Yeah.
what we might tell
Mm.
another business. I was the night before the event, someone asked me for a list of something and I said, "Oh no, I don't have it written down. It's in my head." And they were going, I'd never, if someone else, I always tell people, take what's in your head and put it down and write a strategy in it. And I couldn't believe I wasn't taking my own advice. I was like, I'm telling these that's in my head. Like, I couldn't believe sometimes when we're in the middle of
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
you kind of nearly, you know, the advice that you give to other people,
Mm.
you couldn't, you
Yeah.
nearly forget to take it yourself. But I think what you said about the US market being ahead of us in ways, that's a very clever thing. Looking at what's happening in other markets, because eventually it will come here, so, or, because people travel so much these days, there's things they bring home with them.
Yeah.
And I think because he had been away too, he probably saw a lot of different things, which, I mean, there's many companies that I speak to now would love to start upcycling and like circular. I was even in talk, like I teach a day a week and the students are doing a project on circular procurement and circular economy. So and there you have, that's your business. So it's a very exciting big project it's turning into, Niamh, I tell
Yeah, absolutely,
you. Mm,
absolutely. And I suppose just on the advice as well, like if you have your homework done and understand the market and where you want your product to go, it's going to help with your branding. Um, because we found that we did put a bit of investment into our branding, and never mind the story, the look of the brand and feel of the brand, like people wanted it on their shelves. Some buyers didn't really care about the the backstory initially. It looked good. It was going to look good on their shelves. So I suppose you wouldn't go spending a lot of money on branding unless you knew your market, where you're going to sit on shelf and who your customer was going to be. So, um, that would feed into that, and yeah.
It's a good point because
Mm.
a lot of, the backstory is supposed to be what the brand
Mm.
resembles, but people are still, focused on what does it look like? Because when I was doing the judging last year for the Irish Quality Food Awards, like we spent I don't know how many times looking at packaging, I mean, and that was part of the judging criteria. So it is like if it's not attractive looking, people don't pick it up, so and the story is probably, and I think like I see your story a lot on socials, and you're quite like on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you're every, your story's there. So I think, and then along with the packaging, it sells it.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. um I was actually, when I was reading your bio, I was getting very excited. Like you're some woman in the industry for an industry that's hard, I mean, I really would say you're trailblazing it, you know. Yeah, and you were featured in the Irish Independent 30 Under 30, and then in the Women Business Awards. There's so many, like, tell me all about that. That must be like, that's unbelievable to read. You should be really proud of that, Niamh. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, tell me, how do you like what? Because it's not an easy industry. It's not an easy industry. What do you find are the challenges, and how have you overcome them in ways? Because these you have got accredited, and and the 30 under 30. My God, if I had that when I was under 30, I don't know where I'd be today. I wouldn't be. I don't know where I'd be now today. Like, but anyway,
Yeah,
but
no,
yeah,
that was an exciting one to get. I remember that came out, and I think I was going over to visit one of my friends in London, and sure, we had a great weekend celebrating it.
yeah.
But yeah, I suppose the awards are great at the start. Apply to all of them when you're starting out, because it's just about getting your name out there and telling your
Mm.
story. So, we applied to, well, I was the one applying to as many as we could to get BSL's name out there. But I suppose with that, maybe I was awarded one or two as a female founder, businesswoman. And yeah, look, it was a confidence boost, really. Like, they're great to have up on the wall now, but yeah, it was more of a confidence thing starting out, that, okay, I'm actually a business owner. I'm actually doing this, you know. So yeah, definitely a confidence thing. How the challenges. Yeah, I suppose you have to be comfortable of hearing your own voice and putting yourself out there. And I think that's a little bit harder for women than it is for males. And I suppose I could see it between myself and my brother when we were starting off. Like, he'd no bother going in and pitching and selling, whereas it took me that little bit longer to get comfortable with it. And yeah, I hate public speaking when I was younger. um,
It's not easy at any
no,
it's not
no,
easy at
no.
any age.
Uh,
I found, I remember when I'd be presenting years ago, and so I couldn't focus on, I was like, I was focusing too much on what I was going to say. I wasn't listening to what someone else or the speaker before me.
yeah.
And it was through just continuous professional development that I eventually said, forget about what the person in front of you is saying. Just, like, just try and focus and calm it is. And even when you go in pitching, it's, when questions are put to you and stuff like that. And I suppose I found, because um as a buyer and I'm traveling internationally, they were always nearly expecting a man to come out, especially in Middle East or that, so it, you kind of stand your ground, but it's quite hard, and we still have a kind of a softer side. Well, I don't know, maybe I do. I can't speak to you, Eve, maybe you don't. But I think yeah, we sometimes kind of, it's, I know with me, kind of maybe sometimes the imposter syndrome comes in a little bit, and like, God, is this really happening? Like, or, so it's, yeah, I think, but the confidence you get,
Like
Well,
I
I
think
know it's,
it
yeah,
came over time, but just you
over
have to,
time.
like, I suppose when you, if I had to pitch on a topic I didn't know about, I'd probably be a ball of nerves and stress. But I think when
Yeah,
it's your own business, like you should, for the most part, know it inside and out. So you
yeah,
have that under your belt. So it's just getting getting up there the first time, maybe blundering it the first time, getting up there the second time and trying again, and
mm.
it'll just happen after that. But
I think too when it's purpose driven,
mm,
there's a real, and with your nutritional background, there's a real purpose in
mm,
in 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 the products that you're developing. So you're able to kind of pitch from that that place of education as well as experience, which is like is unbelievable. So that makes it must make it a little bit more comfortable because you you know why you've started to produce that product.
yeah, definitely. Like I believe in it wholeheartedly. So
Mm,
it's
yeah,
it's an easier sell. It's coming from a passion, a place of
it's coming from
passion.
a
So
passion.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And do you get any chance at all, Niamh, to do anything outside of work? Have you any interests outside of work? Or
Yeah, yeah. I do. I try. I try my best. I was definitely used to play every sport growing up.
right.
I did football, hockey, horse riding, tennis. I did it all. Don't have time for that
Mm.
nowadays. I do get asked to go back to play football and come out retirement, but I don't.
Right. Okay.
I don't have the hours, I'm afraid. But yeah, no, I
No,
suppose
well,
what I'm interested in now is hiking and just getting outside. And I suppose as a stress reliever, but also as exercise. And yeah, like Ireland is so beautiful. I think you only kind of appreciate it when you do leave and come back. I think. And
that's interesting now, yeah, because I suppose you've lived away for a while, so you
mm,
see the difference. And,
mm,
I mean, until last summer, I'd never been to Donegal. Would you believe it?
gorgeous,
I'd
isn't it?
never, like, it's beautiful. I'd never been up there.
Yeah.
And I find, even the other day there now, there was something going on here, and myself and my daughter, we went down to one of the parks there and we sat by the water and we just had a cup of coffee and a chat. And it was just, we just sat there looking at the water. Now, she did say to me after a while, why are we just looking at the water here? I says, it calms the nerves, it calms the nerves. Like, I mean, she's 15, but she learned, like, but for me, even, I found, we were just sitting there and she was like, what if we fell in? I said, we won't fall in, but like, it's just even to be in
Yeah.
a park where I find water, sitting next to
Mm,
water really helps me. And
mm,
I do love going hiking, but when the head is running for me, the legs need to go running as well. So it's so
yeah.
it's kind of it's hard. But we do need something, and that's
Yeah.
why,
Mm,
like, you have a very very busy schedule
mm,
there,
mm,
and and being from, like, have done a lot of sports over your
mm.
time, I suppose, getting out in the air and
Yeah.
appreciating what's around you.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
like, you couldn't live in a nicer place there in the Midlands. You couldn't
There's
live in
no
a nicer.
mountains though, so I
There's
tried
no
not.
mountain. So it's too flat.
It's too flat, yeah.
Mm,
No, no, it's a great place, but I do try every couple of weekends. I'll try head west
yeah,
or head east or head north, So,
yeah, to get the time to do
um,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Fabulous. Well, it's been a great chatting with you, Niamh. Really lovely chat, and what a lovely story. A really lovely story and great products. And I'm waiting for that granola to come out, so please let me know where you're going to be selling it. We,
Well,
we love granola and yogurt here in this house. So thanks so much, Niamh, for coming to chat to me. I really appreciate you taking the time out. And I wish you all, yourself and Rory, all the best of luck with the business.
thanks a million, Margaret. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Take care.